right, so we're hanging out with Fletcher from Pennywise today. There in Winnipeg, and we got a chance to check out your rig a little bit earlier. And one thing that I have not seen in I don't know how many years is a guitar player playing two full stacks, which is, for us being an amp company, that's like the best thing ever to see. So tell me like what your kind of road to the rig that you're using right now was like.
I think I just told you in the alley. I want to retell you right now.
Yeah.
Got into punk rock, playing whatever I could get my hands on as a kid. I think I started with my dad's Marantz stereo, 1/4-inch jack, cranked up till the speakers blew. Sounded like Minor Threat. It was pretty good. Two big, tower speakers in the garage. That didn't work out too good in the end. I might have got a whooping for that one, but I'll read about it in my book someday. But in the early days, it was like whatever you could afford or, steal from your friend or whatever to, everyone's dream was a Marshall. I wound up doing a Marshall Valve State on our first record, our first single. Decent head, I kind of was vibing on that for a while. And then wanted, Metallica came around had been around for a while. Just really liked that metal tone, Metallica tone, like big but like tight mutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I get that? Well, probably you need to find out what they're playing. Mesa Boogie, went to Mesa Boogie shop, said, what are they playing? And it was like studio, 22 preamp, 400 watt Strategy, all tube power amp stereo. Like that thing was just, it was literally like 250 pounds. It was insane. Got that, $3,000, saved up for it. Got that thing, brought it home, and that was on our first record. Brett from Epitaph, who was Starbolt, the legendary Starbolt, the producer, he was producing all those No Effects records and Rancid, everything. He loved it, used on a bunch of stuff. So I was pretty much into boogies, and then since a lot of bands were using that amp, they started getting into boogies. And they'd come to my house, No Effects, come check them out and stuff, and strung out whoever, like, oh, fuck, oh, I want one. And eventually everyone started playing them, and then that wasn't very roadworthy. Did a couple tours, pretty hard to lug that thing around.
Yeah.
Wound up on a Mark IV for a while, Mark III probably. Actually used it. I think us and Offspring used the same Mark III as they used on Smash. We used on About Time, I believe. So boogie, and then the Recto came out, and it just was one of those heads that was pretty versatile, liked the thickness, and it wound up being something you could get anywhere. Hey, you're going to Japan, I need 2 dual Rectos.
Yeah. Shipping
stuff was insanely expensive, and it was easy to get stuff broken and all kinds of problems. So now these, everywhere you go, there's a dual Recto.
Yep.
So I've just been on dual Rectos. I mean, the full stack thing, I was always full stack, but the thing that led me is stereo. I remember there was like these BBE, I think sonic maximizers, right?
Yeah.
And there was a couple different things. I think it was like an ADA was like another amp company that had like stereo stuff, and then stereo effects you could throw in there. And I just wound up getting into 2 full stacks with a delay between them.
Yeah.
So Aaron, our sound guy here, he runs delay, a little bump out there. What are you putting on it? 1.6?
No, 0.08 second.
0.08. So anyone that knows anything about recording is like you get 2 guitar players in a band and they both record and it sounds huge. And when you got 1 guitar player, it doesn't sound huge. And the reason is because you're doubling the guitars, and those little idiosyncrasies of movement between the perfection gives it that stereo spread and pops it, and you pan it left and right. So I was like, well, how can I, when I first doubled guitars in the studio, I was like, this is insane. It sounds so much better fucking doubled, and you're just losing your mind when you learn that trick. Anybody that I've ever turned on to it is just like, what? I'm like, because I produce a lot of records, and they're like, well, I've never heard of that. I'm like, huh? Listen to this. And they're like, fuck. So I'm like, how can I do it live? So I put a delay rack in, and so on stage it would be literally delayed right behind me, and then we'd left and right and pan it, not hard, but pretty far. But having that on stage gets pretty washy, that delay up there on the really fast stuff. So it just wound up being way smarter to just do it out front if you got a competent sound man. In the early days, we just using house guys and shit and whatever, so it worked then. But and it sounded badass. But when you get in a 300-mile-an-hour mute, it goes to shit on stage.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have a monitor guy and you got shitty monitors. So so I was always into that big sound, and I know like everybody's going to these modeling amps and Kempers and turning their amps around backwards. Rise Against says no fucking amps on stage, and I just can't. No, it's a fucking absolute no. We played the Long Beach Arena. I ran 3 full stacks, and the front house guy was like, turn that shit down, you're overpowering the PA. And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I mean, it's rock and roll, dude. I have to feel like he was just telling me, hey, you know, if you don't even have to, you could just use those outputs and not even have cabinets. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, I need the wall of sound. I'm a big dude, but I need that push of air behind me. I come back at it. It's right there. It's just, it's always, I don't know. For me, like rock and roll and punk rock is just loud and fucking obnoxious. And, you know, a half stack's cool, but you know, what are you playing for your knees? It's like, no. I used to take my full stack and put it on milk crates to get it higher and gnarlier. So it's like, yeah, my band doesn't like it that much, but I don't really play that loud. Like apparent volume is like 16 speakers is just it's a wall of sound, but it's not like it's not bashing your eardrums. You know what I mean?
I mean, when I first when you were trying the 120, when I first dialed it in, you immediately were telling me to turn the master down, and I'm like, how low is he gonna go?
Pretty low.
Yeah, because you assume when you see 412s and 2 heads on stage, especially 100-watt plus heads, that it's gonna be, you know, loud as shit.
And that was a really small stage, and we're really close.
Yeah.
That's why it would definitely come up on a bigger stage in general. But I mean, that was about what we needed. I mean, we have the monitors dialed in already on this tour.
Yep.
Like every night. So any louder, I was going to be already losing the drums and shit up there. And you know, some people are getting tinnitus and shit. So it's like, okay, we gotta. But I mean, it's still a wall of sound. You stand in the middle of my shit, it's glorious.
Yeah, that's the thing that, like, I've played on stages where you have to play silent just because of, like, my brother's a pastor, so I've played at his church, and, like, there's no cabinets on stage.
Plexiglass around the drum.
Yeah, exactly. And you just lose so much of, like, the dynamic and feel of everything, and the band, in my opinion, doesn't play together as well. So even if I ever play anywhere that I'm using in-ear monitors, I always have one ear out, and I always have a rig behind me, and it's pointed somewhat at me. I don't ever take a full stack anymore, but it's always...
Shame on you.
I know. It's terrible when you're part of an amp company and you don't have the biggest and the best with you, but I completely agree that, like, you've got to be able to feel the air movement on stage as well, not just...
It's ambiance. And when same goes for monitors. Like our drummer's on in-ears, our singer tried him. I don't think he liked him. He's just on earplugs now. Bass player's on earplugs. Like, I just don't ever think I could do in-ears because I need all the ambiance and all of it. And my mix is everything. It's kick, snare, toms, vocals, a little bit of bass, guitar. It's like when you go to my side of the stage, it's fucking coming at you up there. I mean, it's pretty rocking. But that's always how it's been. It's like, well, I want it to sound like a CDA on full blast. I mean, I listen to my car stereo at full volume.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what I do. I don't know why I'm not deaf yet. I'll probably come overnight like that. But so I mean, that's basically, I mean, I've tried the VH2 Pitbull Ultra Lead. I've tried the Crate Blue Bluto. I've used Bogner's on recordings. I've used Diesel. I'm into all kinds of amps. It just depends. Like in the studio, it's a little different because you can sit there and really, you know, have time to like define stuff. But live, you know, the Rectas are just kind of been the go-to. I mean, I ran around with the VHT for a while.
Yep.
But it's temperamental and it's heavy.
Gotcha.
And but that's not really an issue. I mean, you just gotta. I still have those heads, and I still use them at the practice space and shit, and jam at them and stuff. They're all good, but always looking for new good shit. I tried the Black Star stuff for a while, or not for a while, for not that long actually.
Yeah.
about an hour. Like it didn't do it for me. I mean, a lot of people play it, but it just didn't have the tight low end. I mean, obviously, the amp you brought today, the what is it called?
The generator.
The generator. I was going to say the Gladiator, Viking shit. Yeah, that's a solid. I mean, we only had a half hour to deal with it, but that's a solid head.
Thank you.
I'm going to rock it tonight, as you know. I think I'm going to rock it tonight.
Yep.
So it's plugged in right now. We'll see. I'll give you a full report after. But yeah,
cool.
Always trying to look for, the next good thing.
Cool. For guitars, you're playing Ibanez guitars. Have you played Ibanez for most of your career?
Grab that one behind you right there.
Oh, nice.
Drag it out. Don't worry about banging it and shit. So the Ibanez is I think Dave Quackenbush had one and he loaned it to me, right? And but it was pretty. They're small, right?
Yeah.
Tinker toys. So my ex-girlfriend got me a custom made body for my birthday. I don't know, it was 25 years ago or something, and they made it bigger, and I put all the hardware back on. I actually had the Ibanez pickups and the neck back on. And I tried, and then Offspring got sponsored when they blew up on Smash. So I went to Ibanez. I was like, "Hey, I want to, get sponsored." Like, "Oh, we don't do punk bands," and I was like, "We only do metal bands." And I was like, and blah blah blah. All right, well, check this out before I leave. And I showed him. He goes, "What the fuck is this?" I had like written Ibanez with a Sharpie, but it was like gold metal flake, and it was all painted and clear coated and shit. And he's like, "What is this?" I go, "Well, it's an oversized RG." He goes, "You built a custom body?" And it was actually the guy that built Metallica's guitars. This guy, Jim Foote, built it for me. And it wasn't cheap either. He said, "But why'd you put all of our stuff back on it?" And I was like, "Well, because I like your necks and shit." And he's all, "Wait here." Came back down. He's all, "You're sponsored." And they've been making me these oversized guitars. So it's basically, you could see it's basically the size of a Fender Strat.
Yeah.
But it's got the Ibanez cutaway, so and they make this one is made out of alder, custom, one knob. No, that's a dummy pickup because when I strum, I kind of use that as a ramp.
Okay.
I never noticed it until I took a pickup out and I started breaking strings like crazy because I fucking hit so hard. I use like 60 millimeter Dunlaps. 60, does that sound right? 0.60, I don't know there. And just one volume knob. And then on the early albums, I was using a whammy bar on the records. And who was it that told us? Jerry Finn, from the guy that did like Green Day and stuff, said no more whammy bars. They're metal, they're not for punk rock. And he wouldn't let me use it on About Time, which pissed me off. But the one problem with whammies was like I would always get my guitar out of tune. And like our shows were so crazy, people on stage, I couldn't use any pedals, I couldn't use anything because it would be unplugged. So I wound up just plugging into my amp. That's why I have no effects at all. I mean, I got a couple noise gates now, but like I don't run anything. I just volume, gain, go, and that's it. And so we wound up blocking these off, and so they're not functional.
Yeah, they're not.
But
floating
my problem
anymore.
was people running into me and the mayhem, having it locked. And just being able to fine tune it, it stays in tune like all night. Like when he's doing my guitars, I could play the whole night and my guitar won't get out of tune, which is pretty crazy. It's like a big ass hands and I'm fucking manhandling it. So like this one has I think a wood block in it back here, takes the place of the springs.
Yeah.
My old guitar tech who works for Billy Joe now, Hans, he kind of invented it. He made a metal plate out of like a ruler.
Yeah.
And where the springs would go, it took the place. So you still had like adjustability.
Yep.
With that metal plate. This one's just blocked off, but they know what they're doing. So, yeah, it's just oversized Ibanez. It's weird because the necks are so thin and I have giant hands. So I was going to say,
it's that was the thing that surprised me the most. Is it's rare that you see guys as big as you and with huge mitts playing wizard necks.
It's crazy, but they just feel faster to me. You know? And I'm not like a solo guy. I'm a moving fast bar chord guy.
Yep.
So if I play like a solo on a Fender, it's easier for me.
Yep.
But like I said, I don't play a lot of solos. Punk rock is the anti-solo thing. So I got a couple, and it's some Chuck Berry scales. But yeah,
Nice.
and then EMG, what is it? 81, 95? I don't remember. 91? What is it? Mid scoop? 85?
That's 81.
81. Yeah, so they're just pretty basic. I mean, I never used noise gates because they always fucked up the sound. So I just learned I'm really fast at turning my volume up and down.
Yeah.
Like, bang, dang, dang, like crazy weird shit. But now I got a couple newer gates that work really good and they don't color. I'm all about, and I also, my wireless, I use that for my gain structure a little bit. It adds a little bit of gain.
Yeah.
When I'm doing it. So that's actually like that, I don't even know what it is. Shure, probably. Or Sennheiser, right? My wireless? Sennheiser? See, I don't know anything.
That's that's a little bit of the AC/DC trick, right? Like, that was part of the Back in Black sound, was that they were, part of how they got their gain was using those,
It adds saturation.
I don't remember what they're called. There's, Solo Dallas makes a pedal version of it, but it was a wireless unit that they were using to actually gain up their Marshalls
Oh, yeah.
even more, and that's what kind of gave the Back in Black sound.
Saturation to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a
Yeah,
trick
it's a
very
little-
few people
Yeah, I mean,
utilize.
so it's weird. Like, I've been pretty programmed. I mean, we might vary the gain structure a little bit depending on what mood we're in. But yeah, it's pretty much been chord and then to wireless. Like, here's the gain, a couple, noise suppressors in there now because shit's getting so noisy out there in the world. But yeah, it's a whole lot of nothing. Just volume and wall of sound and go, rock and roll.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for hanging out and talking to us about gear.
Cool.
Cool.
Good stuff.